Hey there, friends! Today I have something special for you. Not so long ago, I decided to watch every Christopher Nolan movie, and I finally did it. And what did I think of them? For the most part, they were pretty freaking cool. And now, in today's video, I'll be ranking every single one of them. Just remember, this is purely subjective, so, you know, don't hate me. Oh, and, what do you think of my new look? You know, is it slick? Is it, what is it? Anyway, Christopher Nolan rank, let's go! Woo! Alright, let's do this. Tenet! Or in other words, see what I did there? Yeah, I didn't really like Tenet. I really wanted to like it because, well, others don't, and I like making people angry. But it doesn't do anything interesting, even though Nolan's concepts for movies are usually pretty good. Sadly, that's not the case for this movie. Let's start with the positives. It has pretty visuals, at times. They feel quite rich, fancy, and clean. What else? Well, honestly, this girlie whose name I forgot, I think it was Cat or something. Anyway, she was more interesting than the main guy in this movie. I think it's because the main guy, whose name I didn't even know while watching the movie, is so boring. Yeah, he's so serious, and when he tries to joke, it doesn't really land because he's just so serious. Making a character so bland just because he's a serious dude feels lazy. Why not actually give the character a personality? Oh, and what bugs me the most about this is that the movie doesn't even really try to explain how the inverted stuff works. They just tell you, oh, this inverted stuff? Yeah, no, don't even question it, just use it on whatever, you know, go with the flow, barber girl. And then you just sit there, confused for 2 hours. Another thing I didn't like was the villain. He's so one-dimensional, just like the rest of these characters, and god, his bad actions and motivations were throwing me off the whole movie. I didn't find the character interesting, nor did I enjoy his portrayal. Another issue is that you could never really feel the threat in this movie. Apparently, the future declared war on the past. Our present? Because, I don't know, it was only mentioned over a few lines. And the music, Christopher, I can't hear anything these characters are saying. Turn down the goddamn music! And look, this movie is just predictable. Like, oh, who are these inverted masked soldiers? Oh crap, he got away. Oh no, who could he be? Anyway, I don't want to throw around the word boring, because I already did. So let's just put it this way. During this movie, I felt like I was going back in time, because how the hell are there still 10 minutes remaining for another 30 minutes? Anyway, 4.5, whatever. Following, or in other words, just straight up stalking. It was okay, nothing too crazy, but I had a decent time. For a movie with a budget of $6,000, it was quite good. It's decent. Nice. I like the noir style, the twists were semi-good. I did notice the main guy in some other Nolan movies, so that was nice. Anyway, this movie is about a guy who's a writer, and he takes inspiration from other people by following them and observing their lives. Obviously, something happens, and then the real story actually begins. The budget definitely limits this movie from being great, but I'd say it kind of works with a story like this. It did fine with a few apartments, a few restaurants, and a bar, I think. I noticed that a recent problem in Hollywood is that studios throw in so much money and then never make it back upon release. So, this movie shows that even with so little, you can still make something compelling enough. I'm not saying that studios have to cheap out, just, you know, find a better way to balance it out. Okay, following gets a 6.5 out of 10. Next. Batman Begins, or in other words, I'm sorry. Okay, listen, Batman fans. Don't get mad. I am cooking up a video for you. Just hear me out and put down the pitchforks. Some of you may be wondering, how could I put Batman Begins so low, even lower than Dark Knight Rises? Simple. This movie just doesn't really hold up. I'm sorry. I thought the story was decent, but Ra's al Ghul was never really interesting to me. This movie works best when it's showing us Bruce's origins, but the Batman stuff itself is kinda he doesn't feel scary or intimidating. I mean, his suit looks so goofy. I'm sorry, the bulky neck, my lord, it looks so rubbery. I don't know, I just don't like it. The action scenes are pretty bad with so many fast cuts. I mean, action wasn't really one of Nolan's stronger suits in his early days, but he does improve on them later on. Rocky from the future here, hello? Yeah, I'm too rough on this movie. I mean, the action scenes are pretty good when he's out of the suit, like the training montage or the ninja battle scene. Yeah, that's good. That all of that is good. So just the Batman stuff, okay? I like this movie a lot, but when it comes to the Batman stuff, it is bad. I'm sorry, it's bad. Now you may be thinking, suit and action, but there's so much more to the Batman stuff in this movie. Well, no. I mean, I like the interactions between James Gordon and Batman, but they're way better in The Dark Knight. However, this was my second time watching this movie, and let me just say, it's better than I remember. The first hour of this movie is good. It's good. So Batman Begins also gets a 6.5 out of 10. Sorry, Batman fans, it just wasn't for me. Dark Knight Rises, or in other words, goofy fun mess. I don't want to waste too much time on this one, so let's just speedrun through it. Story-wise, it's not as good as Batman Begins, but it has the advantage of being newer and just more entertaining. Bane is more fun to watch, and listening to his voice is funny.
Of course.
And he's more interesting than Ra's al Ghul. The Batman scenes look pretty good, the movie itself just looks better. So yeah, since I'm not that big of a Batman guy, I wasn't too hurt by this one. 6.5 out of 10. Dunkirk. Or in other words, wait, Harry Styles is in this movie? Whoa. Look, I will admit, this movie has a compelling, real-life story about the Battle of Dunkirk, and I can appreciate the importance of learning about this conflict. However, I'd be lying to myself if I said that I am a fan of war films. They just don't do it for me, usually. I think I would have been more invested if there was more dialogue in this movie, or more depth to these characters, but we don't know anything about them. And the only thing that makes it interesting is the suspense. Nolan may have wanted to portray them as average people, and I get that, but I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I will say, the cinematography in this movie is great, and the plane sequences were pretty awesome. I was invested enough to find the boat and the soldier scenes intriguing. I thought to myself, maybe I'm not mature enough to fully appreciate history-related movies like this. But then I watched Oppenheimer, and well, I realized this movie simply has a few flaws, and that's okay. I still think it's pretty good, I guess. Anyway, Dunkirk gets a 7 out of 10 critically, but I would probably choose to watch something else. The Prestige, or in other words, Challengers but with magicians. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think this and the Batman trilogy made me appreciate Christian Bale even more. Also, Hugh Jackman. Boy, I've seen him a lot this month. This movie is a lot of fun. It's about two competitive magicians trying to best one another. The reason this movie is not higher is because I was watching these two magicians compete to see who's the better one, and there's this trick called the teleporting man, and well, when we finally get the reveal to how one of them does it, it just didn't work for me. What happens with this is interesting to watch. I just didn't like that the trick reveal was introduced so late into the movie because it changes a lot. It introduces a certain thing to the movie, which I don't want to spoil, but it changed my whole outlook on it. I just thought to myself, oh, so that's how he does it? For me, this thing made the reveal feel smaller, but once you get used to it, it does get pretty crazy and very good. And there's another twist in the end, which did work pretty well for me, and made the story even more messed up. Give this a watch, seriously, it's good. 7.5 out of 10. Wait, David Bowie plays Tesla, what the fuck? For this one, I have to go with Inception, or in other words, that one short 30-minute nap after school. This movie is big. From the trippy visuals, the packed cast, and a great concept, it has a lot to offer. Maybe a little too much. This movie has so many rules you have to remember about the dreaming world, like the link between dreamer and architect, their protective consciousness, but it's worth it. I do think it's a little overrated. I didn't really care for the emotional stuff in this movie, the kids, his wife, I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. For a guy that spent so many years with his wife in limbo, I don't know, they just didn't have a connection, I'm sorry. Oh, and by the way, a funny coincidence, I was watching this while on a trip in Paris, and I literally drove past this place the day after watching it, so yeah, that's kind of fun. Anyway, Inception gets a 7.5 out of 10. Memento, or in other words, that feeling when you walk into a room to get something and forget why you're there and then you have to go back to remember it. Okay, Memento surprised me. This is Nolan's second film, and I was just expecting a simple mystery. What I didn't expect is that this movie is going in frickin' backwards. Just wow. It took me like 20 minutes to realize this. This was the beginning of Nolan's weird use of non-linear time, so yeah. I like the look of this movie. It's very 90s/2000s. I guess my only issue with this movie is that after reading a short description, I managed to guess the whole twist before even starting the film. But of course, even though I got it right, the twist ended up being more complex than that, so I still think this is one of his better movies. 8 out of 10. Great movie. Go give this a watch. And yeah. Now we have Insomnia, or in other words, Alaska. Look, I know this pick may surprise some, but I actually think this movie is this good. I think it's because I had zero interest in watching this before, and when I actually did, it was great. It may not be the best one critically, but I had a very pleasant time. The setting feels very closed off from the rest of the world. Al Pacino looks so freaking cool, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get the hype about Al Pacino before, but now I think he's a great actor. I will admit, Robin Williams' character is not what I wanted it to be, but it was nice to see him in there. I liked Hilary Swank's character. Oh my god, she was actually well written, unlike some other Nolan's women characters. Oh wait, he didn't write this one. Yeah, these characters actually have depth. They have flaws, which lead to consequences. Seriously, give this a watch. 8 out of 10. Woohoo! Now we have The Dark Knight, or in other words, wowza, Batman has a bad day in this one. This movie is freaking awesome! They made a simple dude with makeup more intimidating than the leader of a ninja cult that wanted to destroy Gotham. Yes, I'm still talking about Ra's al Ghul, you can't stop me! Joker carries this movie. Not to say that other characters don't get to shine, Harvey Dent is quite flashy in this one. Oh, and I forgot to mention it in previous rankings, but James Gordon is such an amazing character, like I love him so much, and Gary Oldman is just perfect as him, like good job. Seriously, Lucius, Alfred, and James Gordon, all amazing. They finally get rid of the weird bulky neck, so we actually get better action in this one, and honestly, this made me like Batman. Good job, 8.5 out of 10.
Wanna know how I got these scars?
Oppenheimer, or in other words, as good as a history lesson can get. This is Nolan on crack. After Tenet, I felt discouraged about watching this film, but it still turned out to be so freaking good. You'd think that 3 hours of guys talking about physics would be boring, but every scene in this movie flows so smoothly. The conversations are actually interesting, and I don't know how he managed to do it, but Nolan sneaked a freaking plot twist into a biography about J. Robert Oppenheimer. The way every storyline slowly adds up is magnificent. I mean, spectacular, even. The immensely vibrant soundtrack and the gorgeous cinematography elevate the film. This movie presents us with such a huge dilemma that it makes you feel conflicted, as if you're stuck in a hole you can't climb out of, all because of morality. You can sense the shift in tone after one of the best scenes in a Christopher Nolan film, the Trinity test. The transition from celebrating the successful results to the terrifying realization of what they had just done is powerful. And the Trinity test itself, the build-up, the silent explosion, I believe this movie uses the silence to underscore the realization that the world will never be the same. The depiction of Oppenheimer's guilt, his conception of reality being crushed by his own creation, is haunting. Oppenheimer deserves a 9 out of 10. Dum dum dum. Interstellar, or in other words, I actually don't know. Hey, if someone comes up with something good, you know, just comment it down below, please, okay? Thank you. From the family relationships, the growing relationships between characters, to the striking view of space, and the powerful soundtrack, it has all of it. The pain and joy in Cooper's eyes when he watches his kids grow up in a matter of days. Phew! This was my second time watching this movie, and it does help to understand the story more and the whole space thing and how it works. But before watching it, you kind of have to prepare yourself for what's about to come. I was lucky enough to watch it for the first time during a 3-hour-long flight, which just elevated the whole experience. So, you know, if you can, get on a plane before watching this, or climb a shaky tree, you know, or, I don't know, Mount Everest, or just be normal and watch it on the couch with some snacks, I don't know. Interstellar gets a stellar rating of 9 out of 10. So, there it is. Baby Girl Nolan ranked. It's also worth... Hold on. It's also worth noting that I wrote the script for this video a while ago, so there are some things that I don't agree with anymore. Like, opinions change, okay? So, you know, don't take this video too seriously, cause I didn't, and yeah, I'm gonna go back to eating cookies now. So, enjoy. Thank you.